All right, guys. So we start first of all with our usual way of discovering the hosts that we do in every lab. Okay. So we have the target IP address, which is 1.156. All right. And then I'm going to run the service scan on all the ports using Nmap. And I'm going to start MSF console to complete the first lab with by exploitation. By the way, how many of you completed? Can you write in the chat box? How many of you were able to exploit it? Not the password part, because the password part I already demonstrated yesterday. After that, I told you guys that you will try to exploit it and get a session with the virtual machine. Okay, Abrar says me, Razan says me. Okay. All right. So for those who were not able to do it, I'm just going to demonstrate it and then we'll move on to the next lab. That is to use another expert. So we are still working with the labs from yesterday, okay? Because we yesterday did two labs, one from last Thursday, that was the enumeration lab, and then we did, let's just say the half of the lab or first lab from.
I'm sorry, Mr. Asad. Did the attendance taken?
Yeah,
He was unable to reach the.
just raise your hand and inform Miss Sabir. She's there, she's listening.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I will just repeat one of the step again. Search glassfish that we did yesterday. There was the scanner part, the auxiliary scanner in which we try to get the password. Okay, so I'm going to use this exploit. Show options. So we have to set the R hosts. One dot 156. Set the pass underscore file. Flash root desktop pass to set stop on success as true. Negotiating the SSL TLS for outgoing connection. I think if SSL is using, you have to set this value to true, but I remember that yesterday, we did not face any problem. We were able to get the password. Let me see. However, we do know that it is actually using an SSL/HTTP. Okay. All right, so we don't need to set that. And then I will just run the exploit. So this is the step that we did yesterday, right? So I've just repeated it for you guys. And then I will continue from here onwards. Okay, so we were able to get the password for this classfish application with the admin user. The password is exploit, right? But we don't have access to the system. We just have access or login to this particular application, right? Now, the next thing that you have to do is that you have to search again glassfish, and this time we are going to use the exploit, which is called multi/slash HTTP glassfish deployer. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to use this exploit. Then show options. So what we need here is a local host. We need here is a payload. We have to change this payload because we are not targeting the Linux virtual machine. We're targeting a Windows virtual machine. So I'm going to set the payload to Windows slash Meterpreter. Meterpreter slash reverse underscore TCP, right? So what else we need here is the port is set, the local port is also set. And if you see here, it requires the password. So we already got the password for the application in the previous step that I just demonstrated here, that the password is exploit, right? So we need to set this password as well in order for the exploit to complete. So set password is exploit. Okay, and then we should be good to go. I will just write exploit to run it. So the R host is not set, I think. 192.168.1.156, I think, yeah. R hosts. Let's exploit it. Failed to authenticate. Okay, let me just check one more thing. So probably this is also one reason that the SSL should be set to true, because we saw there in the set SSL is true, exploit. Because we saw in the nmap scan that it is using SSL. Okay, so aborted due to the failure, no target. So we need to set the target as well. Not the IP address, but we will see with short targets what targets are there. Okay, so because it is a Java-based application, so I'm going to use the target as 1. If it's set target, set target to 1, and then try again. Okay, so it says that the Windows Meterpreter is not a compatible payload with this. Okay. I think we need to use a different payload that was Java Meterpreter, okay? So I'm going to change my payload. First, I will unset the payload. And then I will set payload Java. I think it was a metal predator payload. Metal predator reverse underscore TCP. Okay. So with this particular point that we're using, this payload is compatible. There might be other payloads that are compatible as well. So let's try it one more time. So now you can see that it's trying to log in with this username and password, and it's and it's trying to upload the payload. It's giving me an error. There could be some reason behind it. Let me just try one more time. Maybe the machine is not logged in. Okay, wait a minute, please. Okay, I need to restart my machine, please. Wait a minute. The target machine, I mean. Okay, so once we are done with these steps, your first lab from yesterday will be completed once we have the session. Please give me like 5 minutes because my machine is really slow. In the meantime, I can just check. Oh, Nave says it may work with the payload generic. Yeah, it can work with the generic as well. Okay, so still loading. My machine is booting, but I will just try again. Still in the boot stage. Oh no. Takes a lot of time. Yeah, you're right. I saw this problem, Naif. It shuts down. Wait, no, let's see. Good, it says trying to log in. Loading the payload. Payload is uploaded successfully. All right, good. So you can see that we got a MetaBridge session. It's still slow, a little bit slow. Still, I don't have the session. There you go. So now we have the MetaBridge session for the Windows machine. If I just write get user ID, you can see that it's local service username. I can write the PS to get the process list running on the target operating system. Um, I hope the machine is not shut down. No, it's working. Okay. Sometimes you do get these errors, so don't really worry about it. So let me get the shell. Hopefully I can get the shell. Once you get this MetaBridge output, you basically have the access. Somehow it's giving me errors and timeout operation timed out because it's taking more time than normal. So it is normal, but still I would like to see something. I will try the route command. Let's see, because it doesn't grab much information except the route. Yeah, but you can see that I got the routing information for IPv4 and IPv6. Well, it's funny, it doesn't show me the gateway here, but still, it actually means that I am inside the target Windows of Server 2008. So it also gives you the IPv6 routes. Maybe this time I can get the process list as well. Let's hope. But even if you don't get, if you reach this stage where you have the MetaPredator session, it actually means that you have completed the first lab. Okay. So like I said, I mean, it's just that it's a little bit slow because I tested it and should have been working. Yeah. So now you can see when I write shell, I'm inside the C directory. And once you are inside the shell, you basically have to work with the Windows commands. Okay. Okay. So ls will not work here. Dir is the command to list the directories which are there. So you can see these are the directories. Sometimes the attacker, he's interested in copying the files, for example, or he's interested in deleting some files. It depends. So you can basically do whatever you like when you have the shell access. However, when you are downloading, you cannot upload or download from here. You have to get out of it, first of all, shell. And then when you are inside the interpreter, you can use the download command. And then you have to give the path with double quote. So for example, if I'm downloading from C directory, let's just say uh, java dot java 0.log, for instance, and I want to copy it in slash root, I think forward slash root, and then desktop, right? So you can see here that I have downloaded the java 0.log on my desktop. So when you don't want to download some file, you just make sure that whatever is the path for the C directory here, you actually have to give with the double quotes. I think here it was not required, but anyways, it worked for me. Okay. And most probably it will give me the process list this time, I hope. And then you can play around with the interpreter with the other option that you have. Okay, it's not working. All right, so this is your lab number 1 that was yesterday due. So if you have completed it, good. If you haven't completed, you will follow the steps and you will complete it and submit it. Okay. Now I will exit this session and I will go back from here. I still need the Metasploit. So the next step for today is that uh, because we targeted port 4848, if you see this one, the next lab says that you need to target 8484. Do I have 8484 here? Oh, okay. It's actually not showing me the 8484 port, and I think I remember last time I told you guys that if you give the port 1 to 65,000 something, then port 8484 will appear, right? So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to mention port 8484 on target 1.156 and see what application is running. So this is your next lab, okay? Should be done by now. I don't know why it's taking so much time. So you can see here that the port is open, then HTTP service, There's something called Jetty Windstone 2.8 application running. So since it's an HTTP, we'll try to access this through the browser and see what do we have here. 156.8484. Okay, so we have the Jenkins application running. So some kind of developer's application. Okay. So when you scroll around this, and if you go to the manage Jenkins, for instance, it's very slow. My Windows is very slow. You will see this is a script console. So the developers sometimes they want to run some scripts. So we have the script console here, and what we are trying to do here now is that we will try to insert a script into this portal. By using that script, we will run an PowerShell session into the target machine and download a file from the attacking machine. Okay, so from attacker's machine, we will download a file onto the victim by running a script. I will share with you the script that I have, and then we will execute that script. And while we execute that script, we will execute that file. We need to have a listener which is running and listening uh, on the attacking machine, right? So step number one is that we go back to the Metasploit, just clear the screen, and I will search for an exploit called, no, not search, I will just, I know it. So use exploit multi/handler. If you go to the show options, there are two things you need to set. One is the L host, and then the other one is the payload. So I'm going to set the L host to 192.168.1.157. So this is L host means the IP address of your Kali Linux. All right, and then set the payload Windows. Hanging. Okay. Interpreter reverse TCP. Okay. So I have set two things, payload and the L host. Everything else is fine. And I can actually exploit it so that it's running in the background. Now it's actually, we started the reverse handler and, oh, wait a second. Okay, wait, there's an issue. Mm, just give me 1 minute. Again, let me see what's the problem. Anyway, so let it run in the background. Another thing that we need to do is, first of all, we need to create the payload or the executable file that we are going to upload there, and we are going to run it by using the script, right? So I'm going to create MSF Venom. You can call it abc.exe. So what I'm doing here is that I'm using MSF Venom by using -p payload, the same payload that I selected in the multi-handler. So whatever payload you use here, you are going to use the same payload here. So metapreter reverse underscore TCP -f is for the format. That is the exe format. The lhost IP address is the IP address of the Kali Linux. L port is 444. If you want to change it, you can change the L port here, and you can also change the, if you change it here, then you will have to change it here as well, because by default it is using Tetra 4 as the local port. So, but if you want to change it, obviously you can change it. And then, and you would want to change it if in some cases maybe port 444 is blocked on the target. So maybe you want to use some other port, you know, that is within 1000, for example, or something like that. And then the output, and I'm going to name it as abc.exe. Okay. It'll take few seconds to complete. Okay, so it has been created now. The next thing that we want to do is that we have to run the HTTP server, so that when there is a GET request coming from the, when we upload the script there, it actually tries to grab the file that we have placed here, which is abc.exe. Okay. So I'm going to share the script with you shortly, but let me first try to run it. Sorry, try to copy it. So I'm going to place the script here. So what this script is actually doing is that um, it's actually trying to execute the PowerShell, and with PowerShell, it is actually invoking a web request from the URL, which is http 192.168.1.157. That is the Linux machine, and then here, instead of Dojo, because I was using Dojo before, so I'm going to use abc.exe. So this syntax of that you see here, it's actually the PowerShell command. So if you are familiar with PowerShell, you know what it does. If not, you can learn it. PowerShell is a very powerful tool and also used by the hackers a lot. So I'm going to call it abc.exe. Okay. Um, what else? So see here, I have mentioned port 8000, and the reason I mentioned port 8000 because you don't mention any port by default, it starts the HTTP server on port 8000. Let's run the script and check here. So when you run that script, it actually tries to download the file from my machine, the abc.exe. Because my machine is very slow, so let's hope that it works. Okay. So if you see here that it sent the 156 machine, which is the Windows server, it sent a GET request that it is trying to get abc.exe, which I mentioned there. And if you see 200 message, it basically means OK message, that the file has been downloaded on the target machine. So the file is there now, but it is still not executing. And how do I know? Because we need to run another script. But before that, you can see here as well that still I don't have any session, a MetaTrader session. So the session I will get only if we are able to execute the file on the server, right? So for executing the file, we have another script. Just let me, so I will replace it with a new script, abc.exe. So basically it will start the new process by running this. And when I run this, I will go back to my Kali Linux machine and see if I have the MetaTrader session. You can see that it started as soon as I entered the script. It says started reverse and is sending the stage. And then you can see here that MetaTrader session 3 is now open. So, which basically means that we have successfully used this Jenkins developer application to upload a file there and then execute it. And now you can see also when I ran the PS, it actually gives me all the processes which are running, right? So you can see cmd.exe is also running. Lots of applications are running on the target machine, right? Um, Another interesting thing is that you can also sometimes migrate from your process to, because ABC right now, this is the one which is running through which I have the access, abc.exe. You can also try to migrate it to some other local process so that the system doesn't kick you out, or the session that you have doesn't kick you out. So for instance, we have this svhost.exe. The process ID is 684. Let me see if I can migrate it to 684. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So migrate to 684. Okay. So same error, cannot migrate this process, insufficient. Yeah. So which basically means that I don't have enough privileges. And this is one step. I mean, once you do the exploitation, you probably want to escalate your privileges, right? Because right now I have a very limited access. So hopefully we will have another lab um, in the coming days where I will teach you how to get more privileges, how to access your privileges so that you can further penetrate into the network. Remember, exploiting one machine on the network, it doesn't have the administrative privileges, is just step number one. If you want to reach to the server within the organization, you may have to escalate your privileges. You may have to move from one target to another target, and then eventually you will reach the domain, or in other words, the server of the organization, because the goal of the attackers is not to compromise one system. The goal of the attackers is to compromise the whole network, right? So this is your lab number 2 for today. If you guys have any questions, please ask me now, or I will just stop the recording and then create the rooms for you guys. All right, great. So